الله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. This morning about 9 o'clock, Lisa asked me, do you know that you're giving the khutbah? It was quite a surprise, as you realize. And then after the khutbah, Lydia came to me and said, do you know you're giving the Quranic study? And she took the beating on behalf of Lisa. Actually, Lisa sent her to tell me that. So here I am. First of all, we welcome a new member to our masjid. This person here. Forgot his name. This is the former and still is Muhtasha Harrison, the one and only. MashaAllah. Welcome back. Before I start, there's also one more point that I wanted to mention. Thanks to our Iranian brothers and sisters, there's a little bit of confusion now about your arms, what to do with your arms when you pray. You keep them like this or put them straight down. And I would like to establish first, once and for all, that it doesn't make any difference whether you go like this or put your hands down. But generally, what I do is I follow what the Imam is doing. The person in the front, whatever the person in front is doing, I do what he's doing. And I recommend that for you. Inshallah, we'll be doing Surah 90, the town, and whatever we can afterwards. At 8:30, the children will practice on us. You know, they'll be singing at the conference. So we'll give them maybe 20 minutes. 20 minutes to 9. 20 minutes enough? 20 minutes to practice a new song on us. Should be enjoyable, inshallah. Surah 90, the town, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. I solemnly swear by this town, the town where you live, the begetting and the begotten. We created the human being to work hard, to redeem himself. Does he think that no one will ever call him to account? He boasts, I spent so much money. Does he think that no one sees him? Did you not give him 2 eyes, a tongue and 2 lips? Number 10, did you not show him the 2 paths? He should choose the difficult path. Which one is the difficult path? The freeing of slaves, feeding during the time of hardship, orphans who are related, or the poor who is in need, and being one of those who believe, and exhorting one another to be steadfast, and exhorting one another to be kind. These have deserved happiness. As for those who disbelieved in our revelations, they have incurred misery. They will be confined in the hellfire. So that's the whole surah. I go back to the beginning, swearing God usually starts many of these short surahs with a profound statement. And this town, meaning Mecca, is profound because God made it sacred by putting His shrine there to serve as the focal point or a point of organization for all believers around the world. When we stand in prayer, we don't fight as to which direction we should face. God already decided for us that we're going to face the direction of Mecca. So every believer, every Muslim around the world is praying, facing that point. So the first verse is simply a profound statement, as in many other surahs. And it is the town where the Prophet Muhammad lived, through whom this Quran was revealed. The begetting and the begotten is a profound statement again. All these profound statements precede an important proclamation. The begetting and the begotten. This is a profound fact of life. If you take, for example, birds. The bird laying an egg. The egg has been fertilized by 2 parents, through 2 parents. one half a reproductive cell is half a normal cell. One reproductive cell from the male and the other half comes from the female. They combine to form an embryo. In birds, the egg is laid, that is fertilized, and then the fact that the birds sit on the eggs, they take turns, the male and female in most species, taking turns sitting on the egg. Why do they do that? Who taught them to do that? And what's happening inside that shell, the egg? After a period of time that it is becoming obvious more and more that it's a multiple of 7, 21 days in some birds, 21, 7 times 3. The human fetus now is in the mother's womb 266 days. It is now established scientifically. 266, not 265. 266, and that's 19 times 2 times 7. That's still a multiple of 7. The gestation period, is it called the gestation period? Is that the period inside the womb? Okay. In many other species I noticed it is a multiple of 7. But I'm being distracted now. However, the begetting and the begotten is a profound statement. After 21 days, the bird inside breaks through the shell and comes out. And then they're walking around. If they're ducks, they go in the water and they swim, as if they've been here forever. As if they know everything, walking around, following the mother in the water. You can go to Randall's Park and see them. They just came out of the egg, and they're full of wisdom, following the mother wherever she goes. And sometimes they go independently and pick at some things in the water. And they're identical to their parents, with beaks and eyes. Where did this come from? And you can do this with any kind of species, any begetting and begotten. Now here comes the proclamation. Number 4. We created the human being to work hard to redeem himself. As a result of that crime that we committed millions of years ago, where we did not make a firm stand with God's absolute authority, we are here. And God designed our plan to work hard, to redeem ourselves, to denounce that crime, to prove that we are on the side of God's absolute authority. I'm going to put him away. And what do you call getting up in the morning before sunrise? It's not easy, is it, at the beginning, especially when our soul is still small and weak. The soul cannot wake up the body initially, because the soul is weak. It is hard work, and you are rewarded by growth, nutrition, and strength of the soul. Created the human being to work hard. The lazy person who does not work hard and does not get up before sunrise, what is the result? He or she ends up with a shrunken, weak soul that will not amount to anything in the real life, in eternity. They will be born into eternity deformed. And we see this in Surah 68, where they cannot fall prostrate on that big day when God comes physically to our universe. They will not be able to. They have no legs. I mean, this is symbolically. They are deformed. A stump cannot fall prostrate. They are deformed. There is lack of growth. To get up in the morning before sunrise and do the morning prayer is a gift from God. If we deserve it, God will guide us into waking up before sunrise to do the morning prayer. For the young people, I don't want you to be alarmed, because it may be difficult for you, but eventually you will be able to train your body to get up in the morning before sunrise. If you're unable to do it now, don't be too disturbed. It is normal, let me tell you this, because I don't want to be too hard on you. It is normal to start out by doing one prayer a day. Let us say the morning prayer as soon as you get up at 10 or 11 in the morning. Then it will be 2 prayers a day. Then it will be 3 prayers a day. Then you will do the morning prayer before sunrise and you will enjoy it. The ideal situation is to do the 5 prayers with the morning prayer done before sunrise. Also, God tells us in the Quran that we cannot do it every day. You're going to miss once in a while. So always think of the positive and be glad, be happy with the achievements that you do. If you miss 1 time a week or something, don't feel too guilty. Be glad that you did 6 out of the 7 days. Morning prayers before sunrise. Ideally, you will not miss anything. You do the morning before sunrise and you do the other 4 prayers as well. We created the human being to work hard, to redeem himself. There's a footnote here that says, see the introduction in Appendix 7 for the purpose behind our creation. Redeem ourselves. Go back to God's kingdom where we were. We got ourselves out by being interested in Satan's theory that others besides God can have power. And the people are doing the same mistake now. They think Jesus can have power, or Mary, or Saint Jude, or Muhammad, or Ali, or Hussein, or Mahdi, or whatever. People are repeating the same mistake. We did. God saved us. And this is how we get redeemed. By upholding the words of God alone and worshipping God alone. Number 5 talks about those who fail to redeem themselves. Does he think that no one will ever call him to account? See, everything we do here is credited to us or held against us. Whatever we do here. And anything is forgivable except idol worship, if maintained until death. That's the unforgivable crime, because this is why we're here. We're here for just one reason, to establish the fact that we know that only God possesses all power. So number 5 is telling us that every one of us will be called to account. With the majority of people, they will be asked, why didn't you develop your soul? How come you fed your body 3 meals a day, but you failed to feed yourself, your soul? Most people go through the whole life without feeding the real person a single meal. And this is repeated in the Quran. Most people, no matter what you do, will not believe. And most of those who believe will fall into idolatry, into idol worship. And we see this everywhere, don't we? Just think of any mosque in the world that says the adhan, for example, the call to prayer, devoted to God alone, without the name of Muhammad or Ali or somebody besides God. In all of Iran or Pakistan or Egypt or Saudi Arabia, there isn't a single one mosque that is devoted to God alone, which goes against the commandments of the Quran. What happened to their brains? They're just repeating what they did in the high society. Does he think that no one will ever call him to account? He boasts, I spent so much money. Isn't this what most people do? They're preoccupied with the almighty dollar. In the meeting with our brothers and sisters in New York, I was asking them, when you get up in the morning, what is your list of priorities? Are you going to have 3 meals today? Just when you open your eyes in the morning, ask yourself these questions. What am I going to do today? I'm going to have 3 meals today? That's about 30 minutes, at least. Am I going to the bathroom today? 2 or 3 times. Am I going to work today? 4 to 8 hours. Am I going to exercise today? 30 to 60 minutes. What else will I do? Will I watch the TV today for 1 or 2 hours? Will I give God 25 minutes? Will I do my 5 prayers today? Even with some Muslims, The 5 prayers take a back seat to everything else. You ask them, why did you come to the Friday prayer? Why did you do the 5 prayers? You'll say, I had an appointment here and there, and I did this and that, and there was no time for the prayer. Well, we thank God because all of us here, we work our schedules around the prayers, the 5 prayers, and that's the proper thing to do. It should be that when we get up in the morning, on top of the list will be the 5 prayers at least. On top of the list. Then if there's time for anything else, we will do that. And this is why the verse that says, most of those who believe fall in idol worship. Because when you give priority to anything else, that's your idol. Now don't get me wrong, there are situations where you are forced by circumstances to miss a prayer or 2, or a Friday, an occasional Friday. And I don't want you to feel guilty about that either. Because God Himself in the Quran knows what's in your heart and gives you excuses. But generally in your life, you're giving priority to God and your duties towards God, which are actually a gift from God to you. So when you get up in the morning, you think, I'm going to have 3 meals a day. I'm going to give my body at least a half hour for eating. Eating, drinking, snacking. Whoa. You're really taking care of your body. How about your soul? The believers have their priorities in the right order. When I open up my eyes in the morning, the 5 prayers, this will take precedence over everything else. Number 6, he boasts, I spent so much money. Because they're devoted to that. Money is the God of most people, unfortunately. If the boss says you're going to come tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the morning, they will set the alarm at 2 o'clock, and they will get up at 2 o'clock, very energetic, put on their clothes and go to that field trip at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yet their job or their boss does not give them that money. It is God who's giving them the money. I want to share with you an important verse, so I go get my index. Speaking of money, in verse 6, there's a very important verse that we should all be very familiar with. I think it is in Surah 29, I'm not sure, but I will give you the correct Surah and verse right now. Yeah, it is Surah 29, verse 17. Does anybody have the whole Quran? Lydia, you want to read it for us? 29:17.
What you idolize besides God are idols of your creation. Whatever idols you set up has no provision for you. Therefore seek provision only from God and worship Him alone. Be appreciative of Him. Seeking Him will be returned.
It's a very important verse we must all remember. 29:17. It says the idols is set up besides God. And it appears here that specifically the money idol, the almighty dollar, do not possess the power to provide for you. Therefore, seek provisions from God. Because God is the only provider. And as believers, we know that. We must believe that. No one else is the provider. Many of you have gone through this experience and they know that the people who interview you and give you jobs and so on, they have no power whatsoever. God is the one who's running them. This is why verse 6 illustrates the stupidity of most humans. He boasts, I spent so much money, or I made so much money, same thing. The dollars assigned to you have been already assigned to you by God before you were born. And I know the argument. So you mean I'm going to sit down and money will come to me? Yes, you'll sit down and money will come to you. I mean, God will see to it. As a believer, you will you will work and you will make money. God will provide for you through the right and proper way. Because if you sit and do nothing, after 4 or 5 hours you're going to be hungry. You have to eat. So how will you eat? You will go look for, dig a ditch or something to make some money to eat. So you will work to eat, and God will provide you through that. So there is a system, a divine system that we know. Number 7, another question. Does he think that no one sees him? In other words, everything is recorded. Just think that there is a video camera going with you wherever you go. And you're going to find that videotape hanging in your neck on the day of judgment. That will keep you on your toes. Ironically, the believers do this automatically. They don't. They know God is with them the whole time, and they know there are video specialists with the most sophisticated video cameras. I mean, the cameras themselves are invisible, but they take 3-dimensional pictures. It's the most sophisticated videotape, and you're going to have it hanging in your neck on the day of judgment. As a believer, you have the privilege of editing it. You're going to have a perfect tape. Does he think that no one sees him? What is the implication here? The believers are aware of the invisible forces and God's invisible soldiers. This is why the believers, when God tells them they're guaranteed perfect life, perfect protection, they know they're perfectly protected by God. No virus can attack you. You're protected. You may go through some tests. You may be allowed to be invaded by viruses or bacteria or headaches or whatever as a test, but you'll be restored. You know you'll be restored. We're all aware of the tests, and all the tests for the believers are restorable. Not the tests themselves. The believer is restorable. Whatever happens are things that can be erased completely, but you are fully protected. Number 8 tells us, did we not give him 2 eyes? I'm looking for somebody who recorded that Discovery program about the eyes. That should make a believer of anybody, that program. If you know if anybody recorded it, I think I asked Phil Travers to record it for me, and chances are he did when I was away. In that case, we'll share it together on one of those Fridays. But I don't need to tell you how incredible the eye is. Just the muscles that focus the lens of your eye immediately. I mean, how fast does your eye move from this to this? You know, it focuses immediately. I look at the paper and I'm focused. Excuse me, I have to put my glasses on, and my eye focuses with the glasses, and I can see the reading here. Then look at Edip, and it focuses on Edip. He's not out of focus. In a fraction of a second. The muscles. If you look in the mirror, you can see your muscles working. Did anybody do that? Everybody do that? When you're curious, you look in the mirror and you turn the light on to catch your pupil as it goes like this. How many people did? I did that. Those who laughed, they know it. You know what I mean? I must have been 10 years old or something, and I went to the mirror with a flashlight. You look in there. Huh? Right. And then I surprised my eye and turned the light on, and I could see the pupil goes like this. These are muscles at work. Did we not give him 2 eyes, a tongue and 2 lips? That was Mahmoud's last khutbah. That tongue is an incredible thing. We cannot eat without it, actually, because it keeps the food under the grinders, those things, your teeth. The tongue pushes it. You confuse the tongue sometimes if you eat on both sides. Then you bite your tongue. Did you know that? If you're greedy and you don't you don't follow the Quran, and the food is too good, God said eat and drink, but not extravagantly. You can confuse your own tongue if you eat on both sides at the same time. Then the tongue doesn't know where to push, and you end up biting your tongue. But it's an incredible. That tongue is an incredible thing. You cannot talk without it either. Just try to say anything and be conscious of the movements of your tongue, up and down and to the side as you talk. Everybody wants to say something, right? You say the word talk, and you can see where your tongue moves from up, because the T, when you say T, your tongue is up to talk. Your tongue goes down. You cannot talk without your tongue. Even the language is called tongue sometimes. What a design. So God is telling us about His greatness, which is incomprehensible. God's greatness is immense. It's not just controlling your tongue, but also the mosquito that's flying in the air. The heart of that mosquito is being controlled by God. The amount of nutrition that is assigned to that mosquito, which includes some of your blood, is also recorded. And it is computerized to coincide with something wrong you did. Then you get a bite. Or to give you some entertainment, like on our way to San Francisco, for example, and we went to pray in a rest area. Boy, did we beat ourselves. That was the fastest prayer we ever prayed. There were 5 billion hungry mosquitoes waiting for us. And they were so sly, you know, they waited until we said Allahu Akbar. That was really something. I think God wanted to give us more rewards, because we were really, that was striving in the cause of God. And we wondered why the rest area was so empty. You know. I said, wow, this is reserved for us. Now we know. So God controls the provisions for not just you, or controls not just your heart or the hearts of billions of people, the hearts of every creature on earth. Number 10 is a great blessing. A great blessing. Did we not show him the two paths, right and wrong? We come to this world perfectly unaware of the incident in the high society. We start out clean in this world, and then we receive two messages: a message of God alone, message from God, and a message of God and somebody else, from Satan. That's it. There's no other path. The path of worshiping God alone. And you remember the statement in the Bible, that path is very narrow and straightened and what? Difficult. Just look how much persecution we're subjected to, which is a blessing because you get rewarded for it. And the other path is wide. Look at all the cathedrals in the world. The Crystal Cathedral in Anaheim, they all belong to Satan. All the big mosques and the big cathedrals. The wrong path is wide and conforming with the crowd. Look how many people meet the Pope. One of you, one of the most important people on earth, would go to Los Angeles, nobody will even know. When the Pope goes to Los Angeles, there's security and arrangements and a Pope-mobile and all kinds of things. But when you go to Los Angeles, nobody hears about it. Yet you're a very, very important person. Such is this world, Satan's kingdom. Did we not show him the two paths? And here is God's recommendation on number 11. You should choose the difficult path. But this is how you train your wild horse, your body. God is recommending that we choose the difficult path. Again, we talk about getting up in the morning before sunrise. It's not really so difficult, I don't know. But yeah. Yes, Surah 65.
If you look at it from outside, it's difficult to accept it.
Exactly. God makes it easy and enjoyable. But you see, you have to break that initial barrier. It is enjoyable. I'm theorizing that our companion enjoys it too, because I don't set the alarm anymore, and I suspect this is true with most of you. I just don't set the alarm, and in the last few weeks I traveled into different time zones, Central and Eastern and all this, and it doesn't matter where I am, before sunrise something wakes me up, and I suspect it is the companion. So he must enjoy it. Thank God. Maybe an angel. I don't know, but there comes a time when you don't need an alarm. You don't need anything to make you get up, and enjoy it. So God does make it easy. Surah 65, God says, those who observe God's commandments, God makes things easy for them. But this applies to everything, though, everything in life. And this will include the gift from God of doing the 5 prayers. The zakat charity is not a popular thing. Taking money from your pocket to give it away. I came back from a 2-week absence, and they opened this drawer, and there were zakat envelopes from people, anonymous people. These are people who really believe in God, because where do they get the credit? Because they believe in God. I say to Lisa, whose handwriting is this? I haven't cracked that yet, but I know that there are people that God loves. He should choose the difficult path. God's commandments, taming the wild horse. Discipline. When we are praying, this is discipline. You see Amir praying, actually standing still for about 5 minutes. I mean, that's a miracle. And he is rewarded generously for that. This is discipline. I mean, at his age, I'll be running around all over the place, jumping up and down. But to be standing still like this, bowing and prostrating before God, it's a tremendous blessing. And a lot of discipline. This is what God means here, why he should choose the difficult path. Number 12, a definition of the difficult path. Which one is the difficult path? And we have examples of it. The freeing of slaves. In the past, what was the Civil War all about? Anybody enlighten me with Civil War? Historians? Lydia? Put down the tab and tell me. What is the Civil War all about? Lincoln, was it Lincoln's time? Does that have anything to do with freeing the slaves?
A little, yeah.
What was it all about? The North was fighting the South?
Primarily that social problem. But there's also economy and all kinds of things. The freedom of slaves is the basic underlying issue.
Okay, why was it an issue? The North was fighting the South, right? What did... Yeah? Oh, okay. The South resisted.
The South resisted, so the idea that the North got involved in the Civil War to free the slaves is exaggerated. They
they got involved in the war to destroy the economy of the South. And they knew they had to do slavery in order to do it.
Okay, Matt?
The South is a very economy, the North is not.
Hey, Rashad, hey, kid.
The North was mostly import-export and mercantile trade, and before industrialization. The Southern economy is all agrarian. The Southern economy depends on slavery in order to maintain its economic makeup. So, the freeing of slaves was a big issue for 50 years before the war started, but it was mostly for religious purposes and other stuff. It was a side issue.
So part of it was that the South was resisting the law to free the slaves.
They wanted to protect the social movement.
They did not want to free the slaves.
No, because it would destroy the economy.
Whatever the reason, they did not want to do it.
Yeah.
And therefore, it is given here as an example of something that the human being does not want to do. Yes, number 13 says the freeing of slaves is indicated as a difficult job that must be done by believers.
In the United States, you still have a system where the vast majority of workers support a very small percentage of people who have a large amount of money.
Yes.
So economically, there's a situation,
Slavery.
that still exists.
But it is not the same as the slavery that existed at the time of revelation of the Quran up until 100 years ago in this country. I mean, you can actually see traces of it until now. I think the racism that we still see in this country is the tail end of consequences of slavery and so on. Number.
The idea is that you always have a group of people.
Yeah. Exploit as laborers, yes.
And it's not limited to one group, it's not limited to black.
Well, you can certainly define slavery as exploitation of other humans. And it is indicated by the Quran as a vicious, terrible crime. Yes. Right. This is why one of the laws in the Quran is oppression is worse than murder. Oppression is worse than murder. The freeing of slaves, number 14, feeding the hungry. Feeding or charity. Feeding symbolizes being charitable during the time of hardship. Orphans who are related, or the poor who is in need. Number 17, and being one of those who believe. It's not easy to believe. Muhtasham can tell you a few things about his encounter with disbelievers in Turkey. Tell us something. What is the majority reaction in Turkey to your ideas of the Quran and worshiping God alone? The Quran alone. What was the reaction? Take 100 people. Out of 100, how many people agreed with you?
No.
0. All right. Were they violently opposed to you, or was degrees of violent reaction?
Yeah, it's all literally looking down.
They insulted him because he says, follow the Quran alone. Looking down on him, because this is all in the Quran. Yep, we know that, Edip, don't we? And it seems to be that the Muslims, quote unquote, are the ones who are doing this. The Christians are not, the atheists are not. Insulting the believers. So, number 17, being one of those who believe is not easy. And exhorting one another to be steadfast. And exhorting one another to be kind at the same time. These have deserved happiness. We will not talk about happiness in the hereafter only. We talk about happiness now and forever. Happiness now and forever. More and more God is strengthening these ideas in our minds through real life examples. Our own life right here in this mosque. Number 18 says, these have deserved happiness. Period. See the period there? Means now and forever. Number 19, as for those who disbelieved in our revelations, they have incurred misery. Period. Now and forever. They will be confined in the hellfire. So these short surahs are loaded, as you see. Just one short surah, 20 verses, and it's loaded with information. Any questions? Dr. Sabah? To suffer.
But not necessarily to suffer, but not to work hard. The having is being chemical.
Yes.
Feeling in this.
Not necessarily, but you see, kabad is the effort, the work.
Right.
Takabbada, the verb takabbada in Arabic means exert himself, effort. What does the Farsi say there? Is that a Farsi translation? Or
This is different translation.
English?
No, Farsi.
Oh, Farsi. So what does it say there?
It says that human beings were created not in pain, but pain and suffering is part of it. That is the way you just you're born. That's how if it was everything was nice and easy for you, then you would have appreciated what you get. So what it is that you go through this pain and suffering, and then you learn, and then you appreciate the good things, and then when you find the right path, then you appreciate more and you go to the right path. But if you are created this way, so that you keep working hard, fighting with all these problems.
That's a typical interpretation of non-believers, actually. Satan is trying to justify the pain and misery that his clients go through. It is not a correct translation, because you understand from that it means the human being must be in pain and suffering, right?
No, that's why I said that.
What do you understand when you read it? You can convey to us in English.
I kind of can relate to the way it is. You don't, are not born. You make the wrong decision in the beginning. You decided to go through this suffering. But that is basically something like this, that you make. It doesn't say that you make the wrong decision, but it says okay, you're born these conditions.
Yeah.
Conditions are tough. The ones who are believers go to the right path, they can succeed and overcome all these miseries and pain. One of them purification.
Yeah, no, that would be incorrect interpretation on their part. This is the correct translation here. We create a human being to work hard, because there's no pain and suffering for the believers.
Why the Arabic speak
Yeah,
feeling ways or in?
not necessarily. Fi kabad would be, because of the word kabad, would be to work hard. There are other fi words that do not mean in. For example, when they say إنهم لفي شك منه مريب, في شك means they have doubts. So it is not. It's not exactly in. Sometimes it is in. So kabad is a very clear word. I think even the old translation said that. What did the old translation say, Captain? Verse 4.
You created human beings to attain a certain accomplishment.
Okay. Work at it. It's exertion. Kabad. The kabada is to exert himself. Thank you for this point anyway, because it reflects what they're always thinking of pain and suffering. Because they try to justify their life, which is full of pain and suffering. The believer's life has no pain and suffering. It may have, even in the periods of test. They realize that this is a test that they will be restored, and pain and suffering will be gone. Do you remember the pain and suffering you went through when you were 1 year old? The shots that went through, do you remember those? Nope. They're gone. So the pain and suffering and test will be something that is simple and will go fast. It will be forgotten and you will be restored. Other questions? David? You look like you want to ask a question. Okay, Surah 91 is entitled The Sun. Yeah, go ahead. We missed you for a few weeks. How was Italy anyway?
Okay. One thing that I was thinking after was that walking there is amazing. We had to take how really I was thinking of how many people died because giving
You see the statue of Jesus where the foot is all worn down for touching it? You see that one? The main building of the Vatican, and you walk about 50 yards to the right, they have a statue of Jesus, and people touch the foot of it, and it's worn down. Half the foot is got, it's rock, it's granite. Just from touching it, it's worn down. And they're proud of that, actually. They show it off. Have you seen it, Philip? You went to the Vatican? That's it's an amazing demonstration of idol worship. And then they have the tombs of some saints in the basement. Did you go to those, Mahmoud? In the basement of the Vatican, they have some tombs of Peter and some other saints. Yeah. You ran away fast. I investigated the whole thing. It was repulsive, just as repulsive as the Prophet's Mosque in Medina. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm saying that freedom of faith, I think, would have liked not just brave human beings, free yourself from anything that you're slave of.
Exactly, yes.
That's why, because if you,
yes.
and why don't you slave, go back to the time of Muhammad, and slave to get God's blessing.
That's
slave, you can be slave of anything.
It's beautiful, yes. Yes. Yes, very good point. MashaAllah. Don't be a slave of your job, your spouse, or children. Be a slave of God alone. Okay, we're ready for Surah number 91. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. By the sun and its brightness, the moon that follows it, the day that reveals, the night that covers, the sky and him who built it, the earth and him who sustains it, the soul and him who created it, then showed it what is evil and what is good. Successful is one who redeems it, failing is one who neglects it. Thamud's disbelief caused them to transgress. They followed the worst among them. God's messenger said to them, "This is God's camel, let her drink." They disbelieved him and slaughtered her. Their Lord then requited them for their sin and annihilated them. Yet those who came after them remain heedless. Again we see in the first verses some of God's profound signs that remind us of God's greatness and why we should be worshipping God alone. The sun and its brightness. Do you have any idea how hot the sun is? How bright it is? "93 million miles away." And you go out at noon there, and with a lens you can actually burn anything. If you can put a piece of paper and the lens in the focal point, you can burn the paper. Very bright and very hot. And Muhammad or Jesus had nothing to do with creating that sun. St. Jude had nothing to do with creating that sun, or adding a single atom to it. Yet the people thank him for their successful operations. By the sun and its brightness, the moon that follows it. What is the moon? It's something hanging in space. That we flew to the moon and we went around it. Something that's hanging in space. And synchronized the movement with the earth. So you see only one side of the moon. These are the profound signs that God gives us to remind us of His greatness. The moon that follows it. The day that reveals. You can see everything during the daylight. The night that covers. The night and the day are other profound signs of God. In fact, last night I saw that phenomenon of the night rolling over the day and the day rolling over the night. I left St. Louis about 8 o'clock at night, and I watched the part of the. If you travel after sunset, you can see it. You can look in the window in this area, and there is light, and in that area it's pitch black, it's very dark, and you can see the night rolling over the day, and you can imagine the earth turning. The sun set and the night overtaking the day. These are profound signs of God. And the miraculous things in the Quran and the infallibility of the Quran is manifested in the fact that God says when the world ends, half will be at night and half will be in the day. God says our command will come to it during the day or the night. Because half the earth will be daylight and half the earth will be at night. If it was a human written book, they would have made a stupid mistake. Our command will come at 12 noon. Well, 12 noon New York time or Tucson time. It's an infallible book. Another profound sign, number 5, the sky and Him who built it. Trillions, decillions of heavenly bodies in precise orbits, never crashing with one another. By the way, we opened Ihsan Ramadan. I was in our house the day before yesterday, and we got the newspaper to see what time is sunrise, what time is sunset. The Washington Post. You can get the Washington Post here, even the library. And as it turns out, they give you the rise and set of every member of the solar system: Venus and Mars and Jupiter, the Moon, the Sun. Give you the sunrise and moon and sunset, the moon rise and moon set every day. The Mars rise and the Mars set, the Venus rise and the Venus set. We know it by fractions of minutes. And the dummies in Saudi Arabia still want to watch the moon to fast Ramadan. They have to see the moon to fast Ramadan. Every morning in the Washington Post, you can check it in the library. They give you the sunrise, the moon rise, the Venus rise, the Mars rise, the Jupiter, Saturn. It's under the list called the solar system, rise and set. That's how precise God's system is. And we're just talking about the solar system, which is a minute mote in our universe, within the Milky Way galaxy. There are billions of suns in our Milky Way galaxy, and ours is one of the tiny ones. The sky and Him who built it. Muhammad or Jesus or Mary had nothing to do with the Mars rise and Mars set every day. Number 6, the earth and Him who sustains it. Have you seen the big trees in the Redwood National Park, North California? Of fantastic creatures that God sustains. Was it 1500 years, the big tree? Edip, what was it? We didn't set the camera right, so we don't have the picture of the big tree. Was it say 1500 years? Oh, a little older than your grandfather. 1500 years. Yes, that's another one. The one that, yes.
Interestingly enough, they recently found out that the oldest living organism was 3 years.
Yes, yes.
10,000 years.
Wow.
10,000 years. One bush becomes a whole ring.
That's older than America, isn't it?
That's older than everything.
Yeah, that big tree in the Redwood National Park, 1,500 years. So that's 1,300 years before America was born. When that tree started. And it's huge. We tried to make Lisa surround the tree with her arms. No, I think even if you put Frank next to the tree, he would look like a tiny person there. The amazing creature that God sustains. The earth and him who sustains it. Number 7, the soul and him who created it. God created the soul and made it invisible. Number 8, again, the message. Then showed it what is evil and what is good. What is evil is idol worship, and what is good is worshiping God alone. It's as simple as that. Successful is one who redeems it. That's the objective of our life, right there. Number 9, redeem your soul by feeding it every day. 5 prayers. Being charitable, being righteous. Never lie, cheat, be a person of your word. You must be an ideal, exemplary person of moral behavior. In every respect. Successful is one who redeems it. Failing is one who neglects it. See, it's mostly neglect. Most people out there in the street, they're neglecting their soul. They can be the nicest people in the world, but they're neglecting to feed their souls. They have to worship God alone to grow and develop. And then we're given examples from 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 of Thamud and how they didn't listen to God's messenger and they ended up incurring retribution. And number 15 tells us to learn from those examples. And thank you very much and God bless you. We're going to have the children sing for us. Unless you have any questions about Surah 91. And let's see who's going to give the Quranic study list and the Jum'ah. We're going to be stuck with it. Catherine, going to give the Quranic study next week. And the Jum'ah prayer. Douglas, going to give the Jum'ah khutbah, okay? This is all set. Where is Sarah? Sarah here? And where is Alia? Where is Alia? Is she here? Come here, come here. Come here, you birthday girl. You want to sit here? Sarah, you want to sit there? We're going to give you a big prayer. These two girls are having birthdays this week. When was your birthday? Yesterday? Yesterday was your birthday. Yours is Monday? MashaAllah. You're growing so fast. Slow down. MashaAllah. We're going to read the Al-Fatiha for these two beautiful girls because of their birthday, that God gives them a very happy year coming up, and every year will be happier than the previous year. Inshallah. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Congratulations. You're going to eat the first cupcakes, okay? Okay, you want to call the kids and we're going to listen to them?
We have 4 new songs and we're going to do a couple of the old ones also for the conference. So we have a couple of old ones and some new ones. You guys ready?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When the heaven is shattered, the planets are scattered, the oceans are exploded, the graves are opened, every soul will find out that what caused it to advance and what caused it to regret. O you human being, what diverted you from your Lord most honorable, the one who created you, designed you, and perfected you? In whatever design he chose, he constructed it. Indeed, you disbelieve in the religion, oblivious to the fact that there are invisible keepers around you. They are honest recorders. They record everything you do. Surely the pious have deserved bliss, while the wicked have deserved hell. Will incur it on the day of judgment. They never leave it. Awesome is the day of judgment. What a day, the day of judgment. That is the day when no soul can help another soul, and all decisions on that day will belong to God. Also, this chapter starts with a description of ending of the world and the resurrection, and then asks a question in the verse 6, asks a question about diversion of people, and then inform us, the recorders that record our every action, our every speech, every word. Here in verse 9 and 15 we find the same word but in different meaning. Word deen in Arabic. In the verse 9 it is in its meaning is religion, but in verse 15 we find it as the day of judgment, Yawm al-Din. And the description of Yawm al-Din is excludes all intercession, all kind of intercession. That day, the dominion, everything will be, the decision will belong to God. Nobody will help each other. This is the only chapter that ends with word God. The word God only here is the last word, and it is in 19th, the verse 19, and from the end it is also the 19th word of God. Word God.
Can you explain that?
Yes.
You can explain that?
Here, this chapter is the only chapter that ends with Allah, with word Allah. You can find near 19 word Allah, and this is the 19th verse. The verse number is 19, and if you count from the end of the Quran the word Allah, and you will come here, this you find this is the 19th word Allah from the end.
That was clear.
Do you have any question? Yes.
The word God? It's a piece of information. This is the only surah that ends with the word God, and this happens to be in verse 19, and it happens to be the 19th word God from the end of the Quran. So this is on top of the last 19 words God in the Quran. If you count from here to the end of the Quran, the word God, you find 19 of them. And this is also verse 19. So there is a unique, something special. Yes? This is a human design?
Is also
Is it possible that a human being designed it this way? So the significance is that this is a superhuman design. In other words, you know that God is speaking to you, not Muhammad, or somebody trying to pull your leg. And so it just meshes in with the interlocking of this mathematical system. If you look at the bottom of the page, you see the number 1 on the left and 2680 on the right. There's only one word God on this page, and this is recorded on the left side. The total up to this page is 2680. And you know at the end the total is 2698. So if you count this word God as 1, the last one will be 19. And this is verse 19. So who made this design? This is the significance of it. That it is a superhuman design. Could not possibly be Muhammad who designed it this way.
And I want to point out something about Yawm al-Din. We see in Surah chapter Fatiha that we always reciting our prayers. We say Malik Yawm al-Din, the King of the Day of Judgment. And here Quran explains the Yawm al-Din, Day of Judgment. Quran explains the terms and expression in Quran that never used before.
Okay, Surah 83.
You know, the Day of Judgment is basically the English phrase in the Bible. Pretty much the Arabic early Day of Judgment.
But it doesn't mean religion. Dain. How about Dain? What does Dain mean?
It's not the same word as the
No?
Double meaning. Deen.
What is Dain? You know what Dain is? No, Dain, not Deen. Dain. Right.
Death,
Right. What is debt? This is, in other words, this is the day where you pay your debt, or you get paid. The day you get paid. Yawm al-Dain or Yawm al-Din. It's all related. It's the day of religion, the day of debt, where you pay your debt, so you get paid for your loan. Where you open your PRA book.
The Day of Judgment is basically taking the word from the Bible and starting that day.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's the same author.
Right, I realize that.
But Dain is debt. Some people look at it this way. So this is a hybrid between Dain and Deen. Yawm al-Din. So religion means Deen, but also means judgment.
Day of Judgment is a very good
There are other specific, using this same word, and it's much more specific. I can find it for you.
For what?
Throughout the Quran. For judgment, day of judgment.
Yawm al-Haq?
No, Yawm al-Din.
Yawm al-Talat?
Yawm al-Din. Yeah, Deen. In the Quran, yeah. But that will be not the context of the Day of Judgment, even in the Bible. Judgment in the Bible, most of the word usage of the word judgment in the Bible means punishment. In the Bible, it is not a day of punishment; it's a day of receiving recompense or paying for your sins. Either way. No, but the day of judgment in the Bible is not the same way as the word judgment throughout the Bible. They have two usages of the word judgment in the Bible. But I'm for using the same terms in the Bible. I'm trying to harmonize the Bible and the Quran. And not the other way around. What would the day of religion mean? It will not mean anything if you use the. No, that's not what it says. No. Do you like tea? You do? You play golf a lot? So why do you like it then? I'm talking about golf. Tea. You tee off from golf? Don't you? Well, I'm asking you. I used the same word.
You had said, do you like to tee off? I would have understood exactly what you meant.
Well, I was deliberately vague.
No, I get your meaning. That there
You never play golf, yet T is okay. Let me think of something else.
No, I didn't know what your meaning. Ambiguity of language, certainly, or double meanings of
Multiple
words.
meanings.
Yeah, but it just seems to me that this particular word in Arabic, the only time it means judgment is this expression.
No, that's not true. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. There are places in the Quran where it is clear. I'll find them for you. But I want to find English expressions that are
Not
the multiple meanings.
in Arabic language. The
Yes.
only place where this word is translated as judgment in this expression is in
Yeah, but the Quran is the Arabic language.
Yeah, you can say also يوم day of judgment.
This is the day of reckoning. The day of reckoning.
Yeah.
It's different.
Also judgment. Like,
No, what does the day of religion mean?
has no any meaning.
Right.
Yes, has no any meaning.
So therefore, this is not. If you say I drink, I tee off at the golf, meaning you put a cup of tea on the thing and you hit it with a club. You know, that would be the wrong usage.
Yes.
So this, if you say the day of religion, it would be like that.
But also, Rashad, this is here. The first time, the day you disbelieve in the religion. The day is the religion. And the day when the religion, the one right religion, is verified. I mean, I can understand that as being a reference to the day of judgment. That there is this connection there.
So why not use the day of judgment? So why not use the day of judgment?
It's not an accurate translation of the Arabic.
No, it is. Yeah. It is not accurate to say day of religion.
I don't know Arabic, but you know Arabic, right? So when you read that, you're probably also reading it the right way because you understand the Arabic. So when you say that, if you translate it literally, for example, you're going to get the meaning because you also know the Arabic. But we don't know the Arabic. If you put something, when you're making translation, you should put it literally, okay? We may not get the meaning in the other language. Okay, but you can because you also know the original. I don't know if
Yes, this is true in some other places, but this happens to be the literal translation of Yawm al-Din, is the day of judgment. I'm still thinking of English equivalents. Huh? Yeah, what does?
you separate meat and cleave.
Yeah.
Cleave together.
Okay. Let's find simpler words. Think of multiple meaning English words. That's a good one. This is a good one. Come on, Lydia.
That's like a covered object.
Give us multiple meaning English words. Like tea. Huh? Yes, red.
Sea.
Yes, very good. Red.
Like the ocean.
See the ocean and see with your. Okay.
In pronunciation.
So those aren't really English words, those are spelled. They are, like C is S-E
Yes.
and S-E-A. Read, or red is spelled differently.
Yes. No, I want words that spell exactly the same way.
Right. Read is lead.
Yes.
Is a verb, lead is metal.
Right.
But they're never ambiguous in their sense. One of them is a noun, one of them is a verb.
Well, to an extent, there's a word like cleave, for example, in both cases are transitive verbs.
It doesn't matter. I didn't mean to jump in. They're just fine.
How about meat? Okay, meat. Is there a word that meat a judgment?
Yes, meat means fair or just. It also means, meet, encounter.
Like, is it M-E-E-T, both of them?
They're both M-E.
Okay.
Although meet, M-E-E-T, is equitable or fair, is the judgment word.
Well, this is 1400 years old.
Okay. I'm going on, people.
Yes.
Chapter 83. The cheaters. Woe to the cheaters who demand full measure when receiving from the people, but when given them the measures or weight, they cheat. Do they not know that they will be resurrected? on a tremendous day. That is the day when all people will stand before the Lord of the universe. Indeed, the book of the wicked in the Sijin. Do you know what Sijin is? A numerically structured book. Woe on that day to the rejectors. They do not believe in the day of judgment. None disbelieves therein except the transgressor, the sinful. When our revelations are recited to him, he says tales from the past. Indeed, their hearts have become shielded by their sins. Indeed, they will be isolated on that day from their Lord. Then they will be thrown into hell. They will be told, this is what you used to deny. Here, God blames those people who cheat people, and this is an example of cheating. But you can from this example you can derive many other examples, and God reminds them the day of resurrection, because they will be asked from their every minute act, and that day the Lord of the universe only be the judge. And in verse 9 we see a description of Sijin, a book of the wicked people that called Sijin, is a numerically structured book. And God says whenever they hear the revelations or the signs or the miracles recited to them, they say tales from the past. It is noteworthy that for the Miracle 19, in Turkey they published a book that they criticize, they object this miracle. The name of the book was Tales from the Past. The name of the book, 19 columns, semicolon, Tales from the Past. Efsane. Do you know the word Efsane? Yes. And they just use the same expressions that described in Quran. In Turkish we have many words to condemn Miracle 19. They have many words, but they stuck in this unique expression that prophesied in Quran. This is a prophecy of Quran. I think in verse 13, when our revelations, instead of revelation, if a word that has double meaning used will be better, because in Quran, in original text, word ayat has been used, which means either miracle and revelation. Both of them include miracle and also revelation, but in English it becomes narrow, the meaning. And let's go, there is an interesting difference between righteous people and wicked people in the day of judgment, in connection with the book Sijin or Aliyin. Let's go on verse 18. Indeed, the book of the righteous will be in Aliyin. Do you know what Aliyin is? A numerically structured book. It is the same book. The description is the same, Aliyin or Sijin. What is the difference? For the wicked people, a book called Sijin, but God says, what is Sijin? A numerically structured book. And for the Righteous people also, there is a book called Eliyin, the name only different, but the description is the same. A numerically structured book. Kitabul Marhum. Let's go on to find an answer to our question. To be witnessed by those close to me, the righteous have deserved bliss. On luxurious furnishings they watch. You recognize in their faces the joy of bliss. Their drinks will be spiced with nectar. Its spice is like musk. This is what the competitors should compete for. Mixed into it will be special flavors. From a spring that is reserved for those close to me. The wicked used to laugh at those who believe. When they passed by them, they used to poke fun. When they got together with their people, they used to joke. Whenever they saw them, they said, "These people are far astray. They have no such thing as invisible gods." Today, those who believe are laughing at the disbelievers. On luxurious furnishings they watch. Most assuredly, the disbelievers are requited for what they do. And now I am going back on verse 19 and 20, and I repeat my question to you. Can you notice the difference between Eliyin or Sijin that described in verse 7? What is the difference? Excuse me? Yes. Where? Oh. Why do we add three of them? You can add four. The description is the same. Yes.
One implication, I know we don't apply very well. We're talking, we're being spoken to here in one sense of people who are unjust in terms of doing business. In one sense, a numerically structured book is a person keeping records of what sort of money he'd be taking in and what he'd be paying out, things like that. It would certainly be an idol that he's doing by your life. He worship. But in another sense, Eliyin would, of course, refer to the miracle of the Quran. You know it exists today. Or in another sense, just to the literal application of the individual verses of the Quran in previous generations. So that's rather vague.
Thank you. I have a comment on this, or understanding. In verse 20 to 21, God describes the difference. The difference is, righteous people could read Eliyin, their book, their numerically structured book. They can read, to be witnessed by those close to me. But wicked people, they cannot understand, they cannot read numerically structured books. Their book will be written in numerical code. Their deeds will be recorded in numerical code. They are not familiar with this. In this world, they always used to deny, to object this numerical code. But believers, they are familiar, they can read. And this is the only difference here.
I thought you would say something else. I thought you were going to say something else, so I would say. I think the numerically structured book is the Quran. But the wicked will call it tales from the past, and the righteous will be able to see it. Because God uses the same word as the elite of the elite. Al-Muqarrabun, those who are close to me. Said only the elite of the elite will be permitted to see the miracle of the Quran. It's not here. Only the elite of the elite will be able to see it. It's a physical miracle.
MashaAllah. Yes.
But the definition in 9 and in 20, same description, a numerically structured book.
But
the wicked will call it tales from the past, and the righteous will witness it.
MashaAllah.
You agree, huh?
Just. Wonderful, mashallah, yes. It solves all things, mashallah.
It's the same book, but also this ties in with verses that you know, where it says that the Quran increases their wickedness. Or in other places, the Quran causes them to plunge deeper in disbelief.
Their book, they record also in Quran, Rashad. Quran describes all offenses and their punishment.
Yes.
Yes, their book. Our book also.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead. No. Well, it necessarily refers to the Quran. Actually.
No, necessarily it refers to Quran. Yes. MashaAllah. Yes. Good. Because there is difference, only difference, righteous people can understand this, the other will say, it's from the past.
You know how the disbelievers say the Quran is full of hell and fire and brimstone? Well, that's what they see. But it is, as you know, half and half. So it depends on which half you see.
MashaAllah.
Oh, we better quit.
And let's go on. I have another. No. On this surah, verse 29, they used to laugh at believers, but now do they laugh at us, Rashad?
So do.
It must be more crazy. They do not laugh so much. Yes, it is interesting.
Yes, they do laugh at the believers.
Okay, that's all.
But we will laugh at them for eternity. Thank you very much. God bless you. Good job. Don't